And so I want to take this time to let Americans who do not understand the significance of this story, I want to let you guys know why it is so important, because there have been people that have said, why does it matter if his wife is a dude? And there are people who don't fully appreciate what the French have been going through under what I would describe as this regime. It truly is a regime. You hear so much about Vladimir Putin, and we have this right here in the West. Pay attention to what's happening in the UK, what's happening in France. And imagine, if you will, a person, Emmanuel Macron, who was pretty much unknown. Yes, he was in government. I think he was an economic minister, perhaps, who starts his own party called En Marche maybe, and he condemns the radicalism on the left and the right. This guy's going to be a centrist. He condemns radical socialism, points out the failures of his previous party, and he secures the vote of the people. And they are then presented with his wife, and they are told that this is a strong, faithful Catholic woman. And so you vote according to that. You're a Frenchman and you vote according to that. And the general assumption, of course, is that when someone is billing themselves as a centrist, they're not up to anything crazy. Hey, we're the moderates. We're the guys in the middle, right? We see problems with both sides. And look, this woman of faith. And it works. The press is behind them. That individual and his wife get into power. And then you start to see another side of them, a dark side. Journalists start recognizing some holes in their past story, realizing we don't really know who these people are. Like this, they kind of were thrust upon us. Maybe we were just believing the media, and they realize that a lot is not adding up. And one by one, these independent journalists and researchers begin to suffer. First and foremost, this is a true story. And again, all of this will be in our little mini series about Brigitte. There was a woman named Isabella Ferreira, right? I'm showing you a picture of her. She used to be, what do they call them? The jaune gilets, which I think yellow vest in French. 56-year-old woman who was investigating Emmanuel and Brigitte. She was deemed to be one of the earliest to discover that the age gap between them was not being accurately reported by the mainstream media. And then she said she had landed upon something even bigger and started making phone calls to alert others that actually Brigitte, as she was saying, could still be prosecuted for the crime of having slept with a minor or had a relations with somebody who was 15 years old under the new law. Okay. 2 weeks later, this Isabella Ferreira is found dead. Okay. She was drowned in a dam. The investigators admit that she was still alive when she slipped into the ocean. The media was saying, oh, she took some pills. She was bipolar. She was depressed. That's what happened. Even though she had been making phone calls days earlier asking for people to meet with her regarding this investigation. And in fact, one of her friends posted on Facebook, his name is Luca, and he wrote a very long post, which you can go and find. But this is the most compelling element. He did not buy the accidental suicide story. He wrote, these days, she was focused on the sexual assault of the teacher, Brigitte Trogneau, towards the minor pupil, Emmanuel Macron. The revelation that she claimed to have, and about which she had told me, was that the prescription 30 years, he's referring to the statute of limitation, 30 years after the majority, meaning the age in which you can give consent for sexual assaults against minors, allowed Emmanuel Macron to file a complaint against Brigitte. So again, that's loosely translated. And he's saying that like she had discovered the statute of limitations was not up. In fact, it is true. It is not up. It will be up at the end of this year, 2025. But then she committed suicide in a very strange way. Most people don't jump and try to drown themselves. I think it's almost impossible. I think I read somewhere that it's almost impossible to drown yourself because your brain will just automatically come to the surface. I don't know, whatever. That's what happened. That was how it was reported in the media. Then you had the journalist Natasha Ray, who had just assisted in an investigation. She wasn't even the one who had published the 6-part series, the one that I saw that was published by Xavier Poussard. Natasha Ray has cancer. She has no money. She has been fighting the Macrons for years in court and losing. And it is being claimed that it was essentially a show trial, that they have this much power that they always have, that she was declared guilty for things that she actually and factually never said, and that she is not getting fair treatment in court. A lot of the files are being locked down, so the public is not even really getting a a clear view as to what is happening. And you're not going to believe this. Her lawyer, Francois Dangelhant, similarly, since he went out on a limb and defended Natasha Ray, the state came down on him. Stole, according to him, took his 3-year-old son, that there is a essential mafia that has been on his back that set up a fake trial against him, trying to throw him in prison, but it didn't work. And he is still with Natasha Ray fighting this, trying to get the story out. And then, of course, the man that is at the nucleus of all of this, the one who broke the story about this transition, Xavier Poussard. Incredibly, the Macrons, as you saw, and as I shared in the letter, are still refusing to sue this journalist for defamation. The initial journalist who published this story in 6 parts. He has not been sued by the Macrons, but he too is being harassed. He too has people that work with him that are getting squeezed by the government, being told that they will face financial ruin if they continue to fund his efforts. They have even gone out and tried to figure out who is funding his work. They've attempted to bring a claim against Xavier himself, not for the pieces that he wrote about the Macron, but for an article he wrote years ago regarding who controls the French media, alleging that they can bring a claim against him for anti-Semitism. Even though he didn't say they are Jews, he just named people who control or own a large part of the media in France. And they were like, oh, well, these people happen to be Jewish. Can we go after him for anti-Semitism? Now, Emmanuel and Brigitte want to see if they can extend their globalist tentacles to the United States, right? That is what they're really high on. They're high on their own globalist supply.